Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Who here had an amazing Valentine's Day? As you guys come on, share with us how your holiday went. We're having some fun, and we want to see your holiday hangover pictures, guys. So tag us in Instagram and use hashtag Mayesh V-Day Hangover. And let's have some fun and share all the craziness that you might have going on right now. Or no craziness and just you laying on a couch with roses all over you. I don't know what you look like. Or show us your hands, right? Everyone always has crazy hands after a holiday. So now it's time to grab a coffee and relax with us. Jayne Kim of Still Carnations and our first 2022 Mayesh Design Star is joining me to chat about her whimsical and eclectic tablescape design that was featured in our February video, along with touching on finding your own creative voice and how to target your ideal client. It's going to be so much fun. Hey everyone, welcome. I see more people joining us. If you missed the very beginning, we want to see your Valentine's Day hangover. So you'll see a little promo image on our Instagram feed. Check it out, tag us, and we'll share it to our feed or our story. It's going to be fun. Let's have fun together. Also wanted to make sure that you know that we're celebrating 10 years, guys, of Mayesh Design Star this year. Did you know that? I cannot believe it's been 10 years. Guys, it makes me feel really old because that launched not too long after I started with Mayesh. We launched this program back in 2012, featuring our very first design star, Mandy Majerick. Fast forward 10 years and 16 designers later, and here we are. I cannot believe it. So, of course, we have something special that we're going to be doing to celebrate this anniversary. So be sure to stay tuned because our details are going to be coming out next week. Who's excited? I am. Can you tell? Also wanted to give a shout out to any of our newbies watching or listening. Whether it's live or a podcast or a video replay, just wanted to say, hey, if you want to work with a wholesaler who lives, breathes flowers and community, then head on over to mayesh.com to register. I'm going to put the link in the comments for you guys. So go ahead and do that after the show, of course, because I don't want you to miss anything. And if you aren't sure about registering or you're just here to hang with us, that's totally okay. But then be sure to sign up for our email list so that way you don't miss out on all of the awesomeness that we do, like knowing about our next Mornings with Mayesh and special events, flower updates, news, and more. So I'm going to put in the link to make sure that you're on our email list. If you register, you get automatically added to our email list, which is super easy. Last but not least, before we get started with our show, I wanted to make sure that you guys are the first to know about a promo that we're launching on Thursday. And it's a special Tuesday promotion. Get it? Tuesday, because 2/22/22 is coming up. It's a lot of twos, right? So be sure to check your email Thursday morning for more details. But to give you a hint, it involves the number 2,222. So yeah, that's really exciting. And of course, only customers are going to be able to participate. So if you aren't a customer already, make sure you head over to mayesh.com to register. Just saying. Just a little heads up, guys. All right, so keep on saying hello. Let us know where you're coming from. Make sure you post those questions in the comments section. And as time permits, we'll get to those. Sound good? Let's get started, guys. Hey, Jayne, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I am good. So you've been really busy since the last time we spoke, I believe. So much going on. I see that you're in your new space right now. How is moving into your new space going? And also I want to know, what have you learned so far during all of this? Because I know it's all new. Anything?
Yeah, moving in, I think my main takeaway was that I have a lot of stuff. So, I've been decluttering and getting rid of things that I'm not using all the time because I think as a florist, when you buy things and use them once and you're like, oh, I could use that again for something. And just that's like a hoarder mentality of just I could use that one day when you have nothing coming down the pipeline that requires that specific type of
Right.
vase or something. And so um like reselling or donating, like that's been a big thing. um Setting up like organizational tools so that in the new space it feels like I have more things in order and like everything has its home. Before I moved into this space, I was working out of my garage, which was a pretty spacious garage, but I was definitely outgrowing it.
Right.
And by the end, it was just like things just went where they would fit and not exactly where they were, most like where it made the most amount of sense. So it feels
Right.
good to be like setting up permanent homes for items and just being able to see things like as visual people, like we need to be able to see where things are in order to integrate them into our work. So that's been awesome.
That's very cool. I had a show a few months ago with some people who were in a book that Deborah Prinzing put out that was all about like people's spaces, like design spaces, and they kind of talked about their favorite part of their new space. And do you have a favorite part? Yeah, I know like you're just getting settled and things like that, but do you have like a favorite section that you're like, oh, this is great. I'm so glad that this is part of my space.
Yeah, I think like this wall behind me, we still have a lot of empty walls and are getting set up.
Right.
But this wall behind me, where I can kind of lay out all the things that I use a lot, and then that way I'm like, oh, I have this many of this, that many of that, and like when clients are like, can you send us a photo of your like candlestick inventory, I can just like go up and like take a picture and send it, as opposed to like digging in my storage and like taking it
Right.
out and doing all of that. So that's been an awesome. I also got a new sink. And like the only people that get how exciting it is are other florists. And I'm like, look at my new sink. And I'll like show them a picture of it.
I love
It's
it.
just really big and deep. And like I can like put bins in there. It's awesome.
That's great. That's so exciting. Congratulations again. I know that's a big deal. And maybe when you're all settled, you can take us on a tour of everything because that's always fun. I know people like to see spaces.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
Right? Right? All right, so I want to know. I want everyone to hopefully share with us their Valentine's Day hangover, and I just wanted to know how was your Valentine's Day as a business and doing everything that you're doing with moving and still dealing with clients and events and things like that. Um, I
Yeah.
I asked because I saw on your website and Instagram that you had a collaboration going on. So just curious on how that went and if that was successful for you.
Yeah, I love doing offerings for Valentine's Day because it's like one of a couple times of the year where I get to interact with people that have been following me on Instagram and want to buy something from me, but aren't planning a big event or something, like because most of our
Right.
business is weddings and events, and so I'll get to interact with people who like my work on Instagram, but they don't get to like buy things from me frequently. So I love using Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, and sometimes like over Christmas and things like that, like offer something that people can buy for their home. And I kind of look at it that way more than like trying to make it like a big financial success for us. It's more kind of
Right.
like being able to interact with people. And so I limited orders this year just to like a very select number. Like I think we did like 20 something and just did a little cookie and flowers collaboration with a local baker, and she made these delicious like chewy matcha berry cookies that are like sugar cookies with like swirls of different colors. And it was just like a really fun thing to do, especially since like even though we're not done with the studio space, like I'm so excited about it. And so having people come pick up their orders here was really fun. Um, Also, like we had a wedding in Palm Springs, which is like a 2+ hour drive from LA, on Friday the 11th. And so it was like kind of, I didn't want to take too much on
Right.
like going into Valentine's Day because I knew that was happening. Um, And so it was just like a fun thing to do. And I also did pickups the day before Valentine's Day because it was going to be a Sunday and it would be easier for people to pick up and not be working and things like that. And so yesterday, Valentine's Day itself was pretty chill for me.
Very good. I think a lot of people like having chill Valentine's Days. I actually saw some people say like, I don't know if I'm going to do this anymore because it's so much and so intense.
Yeah.
It's like running a marathon, but probably even more than that. Anyhow, I'm glad it was. I love the collaboration. I thought it was a great idea, so I wanted to bring it up and share that with people. Super cute. And, thanks for sharing. Okay, so your second video, you designed an eclectic tablescape. You first talk about starting out with a source of inspiration, and in which this case, you had a beautiful butterfly themed plate. It was gorgeous. So when you're designing tablescapes, do you typically get to choose all of the table elements, or do you work with other event pros that might be involved with the event? How does that all come together for you?
For most events, I'm working with the event planner slash designer to come up with, to collaborate on the tablescape. And oftentimes the couple has a lot of input into that. But the elements of the tablescape I would typically do for weddings and events is like florals, candles, potentially runners. Um, and then the rest is kind of like we'll like collaborate together on a mood board to make sure it all comes together cohesively. And I thought for the second Mayesh video, it would be fun to take on doing the whole thing. For designers to be able to like look at their designs in a different way and maybe like think of things in a fresh way, and as an example of like how you can take inspiration from something other than like Pinterest, or like take a physical object and take inspiration from it and create like an entire tablescape as like a creative exercise.
I love it. I love it. Sorry for Remy being crazy. I think he's home finally like settled down. I'll try and mute myself. I love being with my doggy, but sometimes it's annoying too. So you can still hear him. I'm so sorry. Okay, so I love how it all came together. You also discussed this a little bit in the video, but can you talk more about how you strike a balance in keeping your flower selections eclectic but still cohesive and kind of making it all work together?
Yeah. I think one key thing to making sure that your flowers aren't like clashing with one another is thinking about petal shapes. So like if I'm doing one ruffly flower, like a ranunculus that has like a lot of layers of petals and is kind of like a big poof, then the next flower I choose, maybe I'll think about choosing like a flat petaled flower, like a clematis or something like that, where it has single layers of flowers. And then after that, choosing one that also has a different shape, like a sweet pea, and is like lateral and has a different shape. Instead of like going for all ruffly, and then like mixing a lot of flat petaled flowers. And so making sure you have all the different shapes represented. And then that way your eyes kind of drawn around the piece and it doesn't feel like they're all clashing or competing with one another. I think that's a good way. Color, of course, is another great way to tailor your flowers so that you're not going all over the place. Yeah, shape and color and texture, I think always need to be on the forefront of your mind.
That's so interesting. I think no one's really talked about specifically, at least on my show, about petal shape. So I think that's really cool. I love it. I love when we get to talk about something new. That's so fun. Is everyone that's watching, do you guys take into consideration petals? I'm not a designer, so maybe this is just common knowledge. I don't know, but like, you guys think about the shape of the petals. I've, people talking about like the heads and like line flowers and stuff like that, but I feel like this really goes micro rather than just the macro, which I think is really interesting. All right, so my next question is, do you have any rules for mixing patterns and bringing different elements together when designing an eclectic tablescape or vignette?
I think I don't have rules specifically, but I think thinking about when you're mixing patterns, I think the main thing to think about is like the scale of the patterns. And so if you're doing like a very loose, big, um, like checkered pattern, then maybe the next one is like more clustery. And so with the plates, there were butterflies kind of asymmetrically flying in different shapes and sizes, and it was like a little free flowing. And so, like, the tablecloth that we used alongside that was like a check pattern that was just kind of like linear and modern to kind of offset that. And I thought that was like a really good way to mix the two and not have, let's say, like a busy floral pattern underneath the kind of wild butterfly pattern.
Right, right. Yeah. No, I loved how it all came together. It was beautiful. And I noticed that you used a frog in a salt dish or a condiment dish. And
Oh,
Amy
yeah.
Belster's actually, yeah, mentioned recently how she designed in pasta bowls. So,
Yeah.
with certain floral supplies in a short supply, what is there any other kind of non-traditional vessels that you've used or that you want to use or might be interesting for people to try out?
Yeah, I love that question. I'm constantly thinking about what I could use as a vessel that's not a vase. Um, like you mentioned, the it's just like buying vases is impossible right now in the right quantity or the right size and shape. And so I'm all for looking for bowls like in dinnerware sections because oftentimes those work best for centerpieces anyway because they're low enough and allow us to design horizontally as opposed to up. And so I like hoard little bowls. I'll just like take some off right now. So these are like little bowls from Target, and I use these for small centerpieces, and they're incredibly handy. I just put chicken wire in and tape it, or I'll put a frog on the bottom and use it more like for an ikebana piece since it's low enough. And
Right.
then this is the little like salt dish that I put the frog in, which works so well. And yeah, anything like even when you find pots that have holes, you can put like hot glue in it to plug up the hole. And then there's actually a spray in a spray can that you can buy to make it non-porous on the inside. And so like anything can be a vessel. Like even if you're like, oh no, that's gonna leak water, there's a way to make it not leak water.
Oh, that's amazing. Do you happen to remember what the spray is called by any chance?
Mm, no, but I think you can buy it at floral supply, like some floral supply places, and for
Oh,
sure
very
at
cool.
like a Michael's or a craft store. It's specifically for like spraying the inside of like terracotta pots to make it non-porous.
Nice. Very good. Brianna, I'm just going to share her little comment here. She said, yes, we love our Target bowls. They're the best.
Yeah, they're great, and like you can get them in all the like home decor-y like colors. Like they're always on top of such like color trends, and so you can buy them in all the colors that you want.
Yeah, definitely. That's so much fun. Thank you for sharing. I didn't know that there was a spray that you could get and spray. So that's interesting too. I'll see if I can find like a link or something like that, so that way we could put it in the show notes. That'll be up on the blog after this live show. Let's move on. Yay! So let's move on to creativity. Um, you know, Obviously being creative is so important in being a floral designer. Do you have any advice on how to find your own creative voice so that way you aren't just always doing what's already been done?
Yeah, I think there's no shame in doing work that's in trendy or popular of that moment. However, like if you are the kind of designer that wants to be doing things that people haven't done before, and you want to find new sources of creativity and inspiration. I personally, like, this is the advice that I give to people who, regardless of the industry, like if you're trying to find your own voice, is to mute florists on Instagram that you are, that I feel, having negative competitive feelings. And then that way I can focus on staying in my lane, looking at other sources of inspiration, and then next thing you know, you're inspired, coming up with your own ideas, and you don't have those negative competitive feelings anymore. And it's just like a really useful, like easy tool that that anyone can use.
I love that. It's so funny that you bring that up because, my team, right, we're in like marketing, creative, that type of thing. And I purposely try not to really pay attention to what our competitors are doing. Like it gets brought to my attention if like, especially if like someone did something cool or whatever, someone will bring it up, especially my husband, because he pays attention more to like the competitors than I do. And, so I kind of rely on him. Yeah. Yeah. But like, I think it's really important to like look outside of your bubble. Like, I want to like pay attention to like brands that I admire that aren't in the floral industry and see what they're doing, or
Exactly.
people, different creative people, or like, I love Gary Vee. I pay attention to kind of like what he's doing, even though he has nothing to do with what I do. And I think that helps us be a strong brand on our own, because we're not really, we put those blinders on. Like, I don't really want to see, because then I feel like you get into that competitive thing. Like, okay, I want to do that, but I'm going to do it better. And then it just like makes this weird competitive, and then we're all doing the same thing type of thing, which I don't ever want to be. So I think that's
Exactly.
a huge point that you brought up.
Yeah, I think that's, like you said, it's so applicable to so many different industries. Like sometimes you can get tunnel visioned into what are my competitors doing, and then that's how designs end up becoming homogenized. But if you're paying attention as a florist, I think if you find interior designers who speak to you, or other creators that work with furniture or architecture, these textiles. There are so many different types of creators that can teach us about our own aesthetics when it comes to like color, texture, shape. And so I think finding those sources of inspiration is really crucial into finding your own voice.
Absolutely. So I'm wondering, you brought up a few things, but where do you like to look for your inspiration when you're trying to kind of think outside of the box, or really wanting to kind of amp up that creativity within your own mind?
Um, I mean, obviously Instagram is a huge part, but I also like to look at interiors blogs, and I like go into deep holes of architecture YouTube. Um, like, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. Like, there are endless videos on YouTube of architecture from all around the world, and I just love watching those. I find inspiration from like a lot of cooking shows, like just how people approach like visual presentation and fashion. I think fashion is like a huge source of inspiration as well, and following designers that are kind of doing things from their own unique perspective. Like there's a designer named J Kim, which is like my name, but she's a like a Korean fashion designer, but born and raised in Uzbekistan. And so she has these like incredible Eastern European and Asian influences in her clothing line, and just people that are so sure of their creative voice, and finding those people that speak to you, I think is so inspiring just in and of itself.
Right, right. I love that. I love that. So, as you're like looking through inspiration and going through that YouTube rabbit hole, and, following different fashion designers, do you have a way to like you know, like how songwriters have like a little notebook and they'll like write down like little pieces. Do you like, how do you kind of manage that in your brain? Like, do you write it down? Do you have like a mood board or something? Like, how do you handle that?
Yeah, a lot of it just gets absorbed into my brain, but I mean, I have pin boards for like that aren't projects that are just like this is for later because
Right.
so like Pinterest boards where I'm just like this is for later. I don't know what this is for, but this shape reference or this color reference, like I'm gonna want that for later. And also like just I discovered this incredible tool called Notion. Do you know about Notion?
I don't,
So
no, not at all.
Um, so Notion is just like this website that's like an organizational tool that I recently discovered. And I did a deep dive into it yesterday since I had a mellow Valentine's Day. And it's basically where you can categorize like you can customize templates for how you organize things, and it's just been like a lifesaver. And so saving references, I have different folders in my Instagram saves for color references or shape references that I can use down the line.
That that's so cool. I'm double muting myself because my mute button on my microphone doesn't seem to be working all the time, and so you guys can hear Remy going bananas. I'm trying to find the website. Is it notion.so? Do you know? I'm looking. It looks like it might be
It
this.
is.
That way you can share it with everyone. Tool for your
Yeah,
entire team to share knowledge.
notion.so.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So here, let me put that in the comments section, and then I'll definitely have a link to it too in our show notes for you guys. Notion SO. That looks cool. I'm gonna check it out too. Fun times. I love it. I love it. Anything else that you do to kind of work on your creativity? Do you create just to create sometimes, just to do something that might not be part of like what a client wants, or just something for yourself to work on that?
Yeah, I think it's important to have, if your job is to be creative, I think you need to have something that's just for yourself, where you're just creating things not for money. I think that allows you to continue appreciating what you do and to give yourself a release of doing whatever you want to do. And it's a kind of a reminder like, oh, I love doing this. And so for me, like, I don't make flower arrangements for myself for fun, but I've been like taking on hobbies like specifically for just doing something as a creative exercise, knowing that I'm not going to monetize it, and just like, this is what I'm going to do just for fun. So, one of those things has been photography. So, I've been learning how to take pictures of my work, which has been incredibly like fun, challenging, and also I think like it has helped my business a lot. But that was kind of
Yeah.
just like a side effect of me learning to do something. And then I also took like pottery classes, and I actually have some of it here.
Oh, yay. I love show and tell.
Yeah. So that whole shelf is just like little vases I made. So like I made this on a wheel, um and like I've used this for weddings too. Like I'll put a pin frog in it and put flowers coming out. Just things that it kind of challenge me in new ways and make me just like gives me like a creative release. um I also think like another thing that's really important for people to do to stay inspired, obviously like this is like duh, but going to new places I think is huge. And just immersing yourself in a different environment, because it can feel, especially when you're in a highly competitive like area, like in LA, I feel like we all know all the other florists, we know all the event planners, and just getting out of that for a little bit can also a refresh and just allow you to look at your business from a different perspective.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing. And just going back to your pottery and photography, I love that you chose those two because honestly, they both can help you, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you really are feeling the pottery piece, then you could make some really cool, unique pieces if you got really good at it, if you really wanted to kind of invest in that. And photography, obviously, is so important to like be able to represent your brand. We've talked about like we've given like tips and tricks on like how to do photography on your own, if you can't, get pro photos of everything that you're doing. But if you know how to do that at a level that's like, good enough, then that's great because that really makes a huge difference. I know like when we started to work with a professional photographer at all of our events and things that we do, it like took us to a whole different level when it came to like marketing materials and branding and even our website, and it made a huge impact on what we do. So I think that is amazing. Let's see. All right. Oh, hi Penny. We have Penny here. She I feel like tunes in almost every time. I love her. And then when you were talking about, what were we talking about? Oh, when we were talking about putting the blinders on, right? Like, and how you don't kind of look at some competitors. So Brianna was saying, yes, love that concept. Great way to think about it. It's very good. Very good. I think that's what because I remember that popping up around then. All right. So then we're moving on to our next topic. So ideal clients. We get questions all the time about how to target your ideal client. Do you have any pointers for our listeners today?
I mean, I'm not the biggest expert on this, but I think in a way I can speak on it because I'm starting to like in 2021 and heading into 2022, I feel like I've really tapped into the type of clients that are looking for the type of work I'm offering, which for the first like few years, I think of any florist business, like that's going to be a challenge because when you're establishing your brand and establishing your portfolio, a lot of people are going to reach out looking for someone just to um, execute just regular design, like generic designs or designs that they came up with. And it takes a really long time to build that clientele. But I think one of the ways that I've been able to find my people is through first, like spending a lot of time. It's a lot of time and effort, but really spending a lot of time compiling and looking at those reference images that I've saved, looking at all of my inspirations, looking at the client's inspirations and references, and then interpreting it and spending a lot of time on the proposals early on to be able to take something that they're wanting and then translate it into what you can do to take it to the next level and make it more of your own creative voice. And if you create a beautiful proposal, like a visual design mood board with all of the different elements and how you can take it to the next level, like there is going to be a lot harder for them to say no to your creative direction. So you could easily say, like if someone reached out saying, this is my color palette, here are my inspiration images, and the inspiration images are boring or outdated, it's really easy to be like, yes, I can do that, here's the invoice. It's a lot harder, especially if you don't know if you're going to book that client, to invest a lot of time into creating a beautiful proposal. You might be thinking, oh, I'm probably not even going to book them, or like this is just free labor I'm putting into this. But I think when you're starting out and still trying to build that clientele, it's so important to invest that time into doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. So my question is that like you obviously spend a lot of time creating the proposal. Like, is there a certain way that you create your proposals? What kind of elements do you use, or do you use a certain program? Those types of things.
Yeah, I just use like the slideshow app. I think in on Apple it's Keynote. So I use Keynote to make my presentations, and then also I use this amazing website called coolors.co. So it's like colors with an extra O, and it's this incredible resource where you can take like say a painting, like I'll just use this as an example, but if you're creating a custom color palette for your mood board, you can take a painting and upload that image to that website and then be able to pick the colors. Um, from that painting to create your own custom palette so that you're not just like copy pasting a color palette that's been done before. You can create like a unique, nuanced color palette based on your original image, which is kind of what the Mayesh video is about, is like choosing your initial inspiration source, taking elements from it. And so I always use that for my design proposals. Create a custom color palette and then break it down by kind of like sections. So I'll do like ceremony section, cocktail and bar, lounges, and then like reception and any other elements that might be involved.
Awesome. How long do you know, like approximately how long it takes you to create a proposal like that you spend a lot of time on?
Um, hmm, I don't know. Sometimes I have to like pause and then like
Mm-hmm.
come back to it. So it's hard to say exactly how long. I would say like it takes about the length of one of those like Bachelor Super episodes where they do like a 2 hour Bachelor episode. I'll have
Right.
it on and I'll just be working with like just garbage playing in the background. Like I honestly find it incredibly easy to focus when I have like trash reality TV playing. And so like an episode or two, I guess, is like if I'm really focused, but it might take longer than that.
I love it. So an episode or two of Bachelor. That's a great answer.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I have like the worst reality TV playing, and I'm just like, like just so focused on my proposal. It's funny.
It's fun. I like that though. That's really great. Um, let's see. Let's. So Penny's saying, she's just adding to the conversation. She says, I always add, let's make this to your personality, not someone else's, because you aren't just every bride, you are special. I like that, Penny. That's good.
Yeah.
So you talk about like, I feel like kind of molding the people that come to you into your ideal client. Is there anything that you do like to kind of attract these people who are like, okay, I really want you to do it? Or is your business more like kind of word of mouth? Like once you work with these clients that you've kind of attracted to you already, you wow them with your creativity and give them, something that they probably didn't even dream of. How does that piece work for you, like kind of getting people into your funnel?
Yeah. I think finding planners that kind of I feel like a lot of planners, if you build a great relationship with them and they like your aesthetic, will do a lot of the customer acquisition for you, which is why like maintaining like really great relationships with planners that you vibe with aesthetically and work wise is so important, because they'll just like tell their clients like, this is, if you want this type of work, like this is the florist for you. Also, I think going back to photography and like presenting your work through social media, where somebody can immediately go to your page and not have to search through your posts to see their aesthetic, but see your like voice, but they can go to your Instagram and just like immediately be like, oh, this is like this type of florist, and just continually putting out work that speaks to your voice. So let's say I'll still do weddings where it's like not completely my creative direction, you know, or it's like something where they really wanted this and I wanted to be able to do that for them, but it's not exactly the feature of Still Carnations. Like I might not, you know, post that, you know, like a lot in my Instagram feed. So it's about
Right.
editing too. Like it doesn't mean that you're saying no to all of those jobs. It means like maybe that's not the type of work you're putting on your website, or, you know, you're just thinking about the future and not like right now. You know, it's like, yes, I can do this, but I'd rather be doing this. So this is what I'm going to show to everybody.
Yeah, no, I like that. It's just so funny because I feel like every designer has their own philosophy on how to do that, right? Like we've had designers that say, I will absolutely not take a job unless it really speaks to like my creative voice. I've had florists that say, I take everything. I have like florists that say, like, I'll do kind of in the middle type of thing. So it's always interesting to hear like how they kind of approach that, because it is such a personal decision. But I'm kind of with in your camp, like, you know, when you're like, especially you have a business and you're starting out, I mean, until you get to that level, you still got bills to pay. Like you still have, you know, food that you need to eat. So like, how are you going to do that if you're turning everything down? You know, so I think that is a smart way of building your business. And then you just get people to love you, right? Like I feel like a lot of it is like them just, you know, loving the person that they're working with, and then them being like, okay, I want to support this person, I'm going to share about them. And so like if you're wowing them and you're able to like kind of again provide their vision or something that's totally, you know, beyond what they were able to like realize for themselves, I think that just helps build over time on its own naturally, which is obviously what everyone wants.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so I have a question from Leo, and he's talking about proposals. When you're building your proposals, they said if you get pictures from Pinterest, can you use those pictures, or is it illegal? Do you know anything about copyright stuff?
So I'm not like a lawyer, but I think like if you're just using them internally for a inspiration or reference, like jumping off point, I don't think that's illegal. Like it's not like I'm publishing them on my website or claiming it as my own work. When you're making proposals and pulling different inspiration images, it's like, well, on my proposals it says like inspiration or like references. You know, it doesn't say like this is my work. I would never. Yeah. So I think as long as you're not taking credit for the work, it shouldn't. Then also, again, it's being like used internally just between you and the client on the same page. It's not something that's being like shared or put on your website or anything like that.
Yeah, that's what I would say too. On the same lines with you, and it's funny because a lot of people use our pictures on their proposals, like for flowers and things like that.
Yeah.
And we know this, and I think everyone knows it. There's ways to make it more difficult, right? Like you could watermark the heck out of things. You could trademark every single picture that you have, but it's not worth it. So we want our customers to use our pictures. I think it's different when you're using other florist pictures, but as long as, again, you do what Jayne says, and you keep it internal and you're not posting it on your website saying this is what I can do for you, and you're kind of making it look like that is your work, or you're not using it on Instagram or anything like that to kind of promote your business, then I think you're good. Technically it's not your picture, but again, like if you keep it internal, it's totally, I think, acceptable. But again, I am not a lawyer either, so if you want like real legal copyright advice, that's, you go talk to a person that's their specialty in it. I know copyright stuff can be like tricky. And then Penny just mentioned too, like if you use other photos, give credit, and that makes it super simple too. So I like that.
Yeah.
I like that advice as well. I have another question from Flower Fanatic on Instagram, I believe. They want to know, would you say that 90% higher maybe of those proposals get approved that you're working on for potential clients?
Ooh, that's a good question. I probably need to like compile that information just for myself too. I think if I'm at a point where I'm creating the doc for them, like most of the time I'm like, this is a book. Like they're gonna say yes. I just got an email back where someone was like, oh, I went with someone else. And I think I just like responded to that person too late. But I would say, yeah, like 9 times out of 10, it's a yes.
That's amazing. I love that. Good job. Uh, Huntress Foro says, ugh, copyrights and trademarks, oh my. I know, right? It's not fun. But again, you'll be safe as long as you're not doing anything publicly to use someone else's work to promote yourself. And I do think it's a good idea to like just put a little disclaimer, picture provided by or whatnot is always smart.
Yeah, I think of the mood boards and proposals as like collages. So like say you need like a gorgeous picture of a toffee rose and you can't find one anywhere, and like there's a picture that someone took of a toffee rose, like this is like an element that we're incorporating into your design. You're not, as long as you're not like this, we're going to copy this work for your work, like
Right.
I think I think reference boards and mood boards and in proposals are really important.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Anything else that you want to talk about in terms of like finding your ideal client before we make a wrap up today?
I think one other thing is like create your own content. So we kind of talked about that with like making sure that your Instagram and your website is populated with the type of work that you want to do in the future. And so that might mean like investing in styled shoots or just creating work that is more your style and getting really good photos of it. But continuing to put work into that so that not only are you getting pictures of that work, but also getting better at the work that you want to be doing in the future. If it's like a different type of design or a different type of style, really becoming like a master at it before you can say like, this is something that I can do for you. So I think that's also something that can help with like staying in your lane and staying creative.
Yeah, I love that. And that kind of reminds me of some designers have said that, like in the past, if they want to do a certain kind of design or look or whatever, but they're not quite getting that clientele yet, they'll actually do like a styled shoot type of thing. What do you think about that path of kind of targeting your ideal client?
Yeah, style shoots can be awesome. Since there are so many collaborators involved with a styled shoot, I would say the only thing that you should think, like the thing that you should think about before you agree to do a styled shoot, they're typically organized by event designers or planners, and then they'll recruit like photographers, models, hair, makeup, etc. Um, Make sure that the mood board like speaks to the type of work that you want to do, that there's room for you to play within the design deck, because you don't want to just like reproduce work that people have seen before, because that's what's being asked for on the style shoot mood board. You want to make sure that you're doing something fresh that speaks to your own style and is distinctive and sets you apart, since you are investing your time and labor into it, and time is so valuable. So like if you're going to put in that free work, like you need to make sure that it'll pay off for you and really set you apart. And so I think they can be worthwhile, but don't just like say yes to every single one. Like make sure that you can bring your own stuff to the table.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And Leo had another question. I don't know if there's a answer for it though. So he wants to know, how much does a typical styled shoot cost? I think it just depends on kind of the size of it and what everyone like, especially for designers, like the type of florals and things like that. But do you have any answer for
Yeah,
that?
I mean, obviously it depends on like the shot list. So if you're doing personal, ceremony, and reception, and maybe like an escort display or something like that, like the scale of the shoot and the number of things on the shot list is going to affect that. But also, with a lot of styled shoots, if let's say the end goal is to get published in a magazine or published on a popular wedding blog, the planner will have, like, the event planning company will have budget for like a floral stipend. And so they'll cover just the raw materials of the flowers, and then you would cover your labor, any materials that you use out of your studio, just like your time and labor, basically. And that's how I've typically done styled shoots, is like I'll donate my labor, my expertise, I'll do the installations, prep day, etc. If they cover the cost of flowers, and then yeah, I'll just do it that way.
And that's great advice. Thank you. Because I was like, I don't know we're going to answer that, but that's a good answer. That's great. Let me just check. I see, is it Flower Fanatic also kind of said what you just said. I recommend for styled shoots to ask for a stipend. Most vendors are up for it. Yeah, because flowers aren't like table linens or chairs that can be returned at the end of the day, right? Like they're gonna die, so there's that cost there that that is real and tangible. Yeah. Not saying that the other costs aren't real and tangible. I know there's cleaning and moving and all of that,
not reusable. Yeah.
Yes, definitely not reusable. So I think that is so important for everyone to know, and that's, I think, really great advice. I didn't know that was stipend. I know we've obviously have like worked with designers on styled shoots and things like that, and sometimes I don't think there is a stipend, and so they'll like sometimes approach us on like kind of working with them on those types of things. We don't do that a lot though, but we have done them in the past. All good stuff. Any other questions, guys, before we wrap up? You guys had some really good ones today. I'm so happy. What do you got there, Jayne?
Got a little sweet pea.
Let me move this way. Yeah, see behind me, I have like a huge, it's like hard to see, but they're like blush pink and white sweet peas in my little selfie base back there.
I love sweet peas.
I do too. And they smell so yummy. I love them. They're so beautiful. What, you got any other fun flowers with you today?
Kind of. The mimosa's been so crazy, like the acacia. Yeah, it's been so awesome going to the market, just like all these yellow blooms of acacia. It's so pretty. Yeah.
Very fun.
For some reason, like going into what Yvonne and I are going to talk about, and then we had so much to talk about.
I get nervous too, and I mean, I've been doing this for so freaking long, but I'm like, I only have like 6 bullet points. What were we gonna last an hour? Not that every show needs to be an hour, but it always ends up being like we're at almost 54 minutes, guys, and it's like I thought we'd be like maybe around like 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
I know, me too.
I know. It just doesn't matter. It's crazy. It's crazy. Leo wants to know if that ranunculus is white behind you. Yeah, I believe so. Oh, yeah, that is ranunculus in white. Read your
so
question
fluffy.
wrong. So sorry. Oh, it's so beautiful. So fun. Ranunculus are one of my favorite. Sweet peas are one of my favorite, and I love peonies. I really wish I could have. This one is. Yeah, it's so beautiful. I know my like wall in front of me is like big peonies, but it's too hard to. I'm not going to move my computer around. That would be a much better background than my bookcase, But it's all good. I love those flowers. So much fun. Jayne, thank you so much for doing this. And again, thank you for kicking off our 2022 Mayesh Design Star. You are amazing. Guys, if you haven't watched Jayne's video, make sure you head over to our blog, blog.mayesh.com or mayesh.com/blog, however you want to go there. It'll take you there and check out her 2 videos. Or you can go to YouTube if you're already on YouTube. They're there too. And they're on Facebook and they're on Instagram. There's no reason for you not to watch them. They're amazing. So make sure you check them out. And thanks for joining me, Jayne. I love working with you, and make sure, stay in touch, and maybe we can do a tour again soon of your new space. That would be fun.
That'd be awesome. Thank you so much for having me. This was like such an awesome experience.
Yay, thank you. And Remy says thank you as well. He was super loud and my mute button wasn't working very well, so sorry about that, guys. And also, again, just a reminder to stay tuned for our upcoming Tuesday promotion. We're going to be sending that out on Thursday. And then next week, we're going to be launching or telling you guys, sharing with you guys about our 10-year anniversary Mayesh Design Star event. I don't know what to call it, but it's going to be fun. And there's voting involved, guys. We haven't done any kind of voting in a really long time. I know you all miss it. So there's that. So it's going to be so much fun. And I hope you guys have an amazing day. Stay tuned for our next show, and I will see you all soon. Bye, guys.